It took me a lot of trial and error before I finally cracked the online course creation code. My goal? To help you reach success much faster than I did. In case you're tuning into my channel for the first time, hi there. I'm Marisa Murgatroyd, and I've coached and supported tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, from side hustlers to seven-figure empires, on how to grow their online business. And I'm widely considered one of the top online course experts in the world. In this video, I'm diving in to the 10 most common mistakes that course creators make, what I like to call anti-experiences, and what to do instead so you can create a course that attracts, engages, and turns your perfect people into customers for life. So let's get to it. Mistake number 1 is trying to serve too many masters with your course. Many traditional courses take the kitchen sink approach, overstuffing their courses with content, trying to be the be-all, end-all course on a particular topic, rather than zeroing in on one specific and achievable outcome, which leads to students dropping out like flies if they buy in the first place. So how can you get your students to complete your course, get the transformation they're after, and keep them coming back to you again and again? Focus on just one primary mission they'll achieve through your course, and make that mission so clear and so specific that you could almost photograph someone crossing the finish line to mission accomplished. In video games, this is known as a win state. And when you paint a crystal clear picture of exactly what your student will do, be, feel, have, overcome, or achieve through your course, and how they'll know when they've crossed the finish line, you'll inspire them to both buy and consume your course in droves because they want to realize that outcome. Now, when it comes to crafting the mission of your course, try this one simple template. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is X. Simply fill in the X with the specific mission of your course, and this forces you to look at your course from your student's perspective. What's their mission? What exactly are they saying yes to? It's not just what you want to teach or what you want to deliver, it's the results that your students want in their lives. And when you take this approach to course creation, focusing on one crystal clear mission, instead of taking the kitchen sink approach, you'll discover that you've got an entire suite of courses you can create, leading to a long-lasting and sustainable business. So mistake number 2 is falling down the how hole. If you spend a lot of time talking about how something works or how someone needs to do something before they're really clear about and invested in what they need to do and why they need to do it, no one will buy. And if you repeat this pattern in your course delivery, you'll overwhelm your students before they've even had a chance to get started. It's so easy to make this mistake because as the creator, you've likely spent a lot of time working on the how part. You're excited and you're knowledgeable and you're keen to share all the how stuff that you know. But this is where you need to curb that enthusiasm, knowing that before you can get people to all that good how stuff, you need to take a beat and remember to start with the what and the why. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to design a business around your craft, using step-by-step mini modules each month to get more customers, to get online, and to start wholesaling so much more. How did that land for you? Nobody cares about the step-by-step mini modules, am I right? When they're still trying to understand what you do and why on earth it matters to them. So while having a great course is important, when you focus too much too soon on the small details of your course, you run the risk of losing sight of the bigger picture of why it's so important to your potential customers. What will it mean for them? What will they be able to do now that they weren't ever able to do before? In other words, what's in it for them? Which brings me to mistake number 3, headlights in the fog. And if you've ever driven in the fog and you couldn't see more than just a few feet in front of you, you know how nerve-wracking and even terrifying it is to keep driving. And the same is true for your course. Studies show that if a user spends 4 seconds on an interface and can't figure out what to do, they feel stupid and they start to disengage emotionally. Without context and a clear path to follow from beginning to end, it's easy for your students to get lost and simply give up. They need to see where they are, where they're going, and exactly how they're going to get there, so they can relax and not feel like they're trying to hold on for dear life. That's where your bird's eye view comes in. Think of your bird's eye view as a map of your course so your students can see where they are, where they're going, and how exactly they're going to get there before they even start their journey. Simply seeing the path will give your students the confidence to get started. So mistake number 4 is chasing your tail. Many course creators set lofty goals for their students that take a long time to achieve, making it easy for people to get stuck in the process and give up. Because people need to feel like they're making progress each step of the way, instead of just chasing their tails. And this is where constant wins come into play. With constant wins, you build your students' confidence, motivation, and positive emotions through small, easy wins that escalate over time into big results. And this is a powerful idea straight from the world of apps and games, where every little thing you do is rewarded in some way. Every button press, every action, every power-up, every enemy you defeat. You're winning over and over again. And as a user, this kind of constant positive feedback makes you feel like you're making forward progress, like you're achieving something. That's why the more you play, the more addicted you get. And apps and games are super sneaky. I mean, have you ever noticed that they always make the first few wins super duper easy? So no matter who you are, you can win. And before you know it, you've spent hours and hours and hours on these apps and games with nothing to show for it. But what if you could adapt these same techniques to help your students achieve real results in their lives instead of wasting time on Candy Crush or TikTok? You can. Reward your students after every action, no matter how small. Watched your welcome video? Win. Joined your private community? Win. Completed Module 1? Win. Constant wins gives them hits of the happy chemical dopamine that lights up their brain and keeps them motivated even as your course gets more challenging. Now, rather than losing motivation waiting for the final win at the very end of your course, you can keep them engaged all the way through. So mistake number 5 is mental paralysis. Gone are the days when learning was confined to lecture halls and textbooks. Remember the teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Bueller. We're not doing that. Consider this. Babies don't master walking by reading a manual or listening to a lecture. They wobble, they fall, they get up, and with each attempt, they're learning, not just with their minds, but with every little muscle and every sense. And guess what? Your students are no different. They crave experiences that stir their hearts, spark their curiosity, and push them to the edges of their comfort zone. That's why you need to incorporate peak emotional experiences, because it's not just what your students learn, but how they feel while they're learning it. When you touch their hearts, you move their minds. Imagine using a story that grips them, transporting them to a moment of triumph or challenge, or weaving a lesson with a pattern interrupt that jolts them out of autopilot and ignites their curiosity. Surprise them, delight them, make them wonder, what's next? So we were in a cab trying to get to Y2K in Bangkok. Remember Y2K when everyone thought the world was gonna end because of some tech glitch? Well, there we were trying to hit it for midnight on the nose before the celebrations began. And not just us, everybody was racing towards the midnight time. And I was like, dudes, you had 2,000 years to get there on time and you're all racing and rushing at the last freaking minute. Oh, booyah! Woo! For instance, instead of merely talking about resilience, have your students engage in a quick, fun failure exercise. Ask them to balance on one foot, pat their head, and rub their belly while answering a trivia question. It's playful, yet it drives home the point. It's okay to wobble, to not know, to make a mistake and get it wrong. Or, if you want to teach someone the power of storytelling, don't just describe it. Show it. Show a personal story of a moment when you faced a challenge, how you felt, what you saw, smelled, and heard. Then, encourage them to share their own stories in breakout sessions, using all their senses to paint vivid pictures. By embedding these peak emotional experiences into your course, you're not just teaching, you're transforming. You're creating a learning journey that's as unforgettable as it is impactful. making sure that your students don't just consume your training, they live it, they breathe it, and most importantly, they apply it. Mistake number 6 will derail student success faster than pretty much anything, and that's pretending that everything is awesome. Here's the thing, everything is not awesome, and you shouldn't pretend like it is. When you say that everything in your course will be fast, simple, and easy, when you brush past potential challenges, leaving your students feeling unprepared, frustrated, and self-judging when they inevitably hit a challenge, which they will, this will happen. Instead, you want to normalize the challenges. Because changing your life and accomplishing big, lofty goals, it takes a lot of work. And sometimes things don't go as planned. So prepare your students for the challenges along the way so they can take the speed bumps in stride and continue on their journey to mission accomplished. So for every step in your course, ask yourself, what are the challenges someone might have as they take this action? What do they need to believe about themselves to be able to take this action? What fears or doubts could kick in as they consider doing what you're asking them to do? When you address each of these challenges, you make whatever feelings or fears come up okay for them. When people know they're not alone and what they're experiencing is completely normal, they won't feel like they're failing. Which leads me to mistake number 7, anonymity. Treating your students like they're just another number in the system. That's like throwing a party and forgetting to greet your guests. No bueno. Your students will end up feeling like they're just shouting into the void, wondering if anyone's actually listening on the other end. But here's a game changer. Feedback loops. Imagine turning your course into a living, breathing ecosystem where every student's voice can steer the ship. Yes, you're the captain, but they're the winds guiding the journey. Let's get real for a second. Remember these choose your own adventure books? You reach this cliffhanger in the story, and then you get to decide what happens next. Do you explore the cave, or do you climb the mountain? Each choice leads to a new path, a new adventure, and that's exactly how your online course should feel. Design your course to react and respond to your students through smart automation and perceived customization. Send emails, text messages, Facebook messages, and voicemails acknowledging the action they took, or even their lack of action. For instance, if a student is falling behind, reach out to them and let them know you're there and you care. By weaving feedback loops into the fabric of your course, you're not just acknowledging your students, you're saying, I see you, I hear you, and heck yes, your success is my mission. And there are ways to automate these feedback loops using a learning management system such as Experienceify, which I built with my husband Murray, or you can do this manually when you're first getting started. It's well worth the time and effort because if you can get 10 to 30 times more students to cross the finish line in your course, you'll see a flood of positive reviews, referrals, and repeat sales, and your courses will take off. Okay, mistake number 8 is isolation. And this is where so many course creators drop the ball. They forget that behind every screen, there's a human heart longing for connection. Imagine running a marathon with no one cheering you on. No fellow runners beside you, just miles and miles of pavement and your own panting breath. That's what tackling an online course feels like in isolation. It's daunting, right? Because humans were hardwired for community. We've got a greater chance of success and survival together than we do apart. We long to feel connection and belonging, and we appreciate opportunities to engage with each other. So adding an engaging community element to your course is crucial for your student success. As the saying goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. Moving on to mistake number 9, the start and stop pattern. Has this happened to you before? You're gung-ho to start something, so you get into action, but it's not really going anywhere. And one thing doesn't lead to another, you can't gain any momentum, and it feels like you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So you stop. The same thing will happen in your online course if you don't create unstoppable momentum. So rather than taking a series of seemingly disconnected actions, your students feel like each step they're taking is leading towards a greater mission. So their actions start to compound and everything builds on everything else. Take video games. The best video games increase the challenge level by 25% with each round to keep people hooked and ramp them up towards the ultimate win of the game. Following that principle, you want the first few wins in your course to be super duper easy. For instance, give your students points for simply watching your welcome video. And then keep increasing the challenge level as they progress, giving them wins all along the way. It's not enough to win just for the sake of winning. They need to feel forward progress and momentum toward that greater mission. Like each win is getting them closer to their ultimate goal. Phew, we've made it to the last mistake, mistake number 10. And this is a big one, ending with a whimper. You may have heard this T.S. Eliot quote, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper." You see, most courses, they just kind of peter out, and they miss this huge opportunity to celebrate success and enroll students in the next step. But when you celebrate your students when they hit mission accomplished, and you show them the incredible future that's possible for them when they continue their journey with you, well, that's the start of a long-term relationship, which results in larger and larger wins for them and a sustainable business for you. I like to call these customers for life. So you want to make sure you really celebrate mission accomplished because people need to feel a sense of completion. After all, human culture is based on celebrations and rites of passage. So add a mission accomplished button on your course membership site that they can smash and have that mission accomplished button trigger a win state. And to make this even more powerful, give them a valuable bonus for reaching mission accomplished so they feel like they won. And if you've done your job well, your students will want to continue with you. They'll want to know what's next. What's the next challenge, opportunity, or step in my journey? And you'll have the opportunity to rinse and repeat these 10 core experiences all over again in your next course, in Onwards and Upwards. So there you have it, the 10 mistakes or anti-experiences to avoid if you want to create a successful online course that gets real results for your students, leading to lasting success for you. Here they are one more time. Mistake number 1, trying to serve too many masters. Mistake number 2, the how hole. Mistake number 3, headlights in the fog. Mistake number 4, chasing your tail. Mistake number 5, mental paralysis. Mistake number 6, everything is awesome. Mistake number 7, anonymity. Mistake number 8, isolation. Mistake number 9, start and stop. And mistake number 10, ending with a whimper. Now, if you're fired up and you're ready to get started with your first or next course right this minute, I've got 2 more videos for you. Check out my video on how to choose your profitable online course niche, because if you don't nail this first, everything else you do will all be for nothing. And then I've got a video on how to create a course that sells in 2024. Inside, I'll give you the 5 trends and opportunities that you need to know to succeed. Do me a favor and comment with the mistake that surprised you the most. Then check out my next 2 videos and go out there and live your message.